Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports podcast. On the host of this podcast, Lane Frank. We're now episode 124. Yes, sir, 124 episodes through, and I got action-packed episode planned for you. We're going to be talking about NBA playoffs, obviously NBA lottery going on tonight, so we don't know the results yet. MLB season rolling right now. Champions League we've got for soccer. We've also got NHL playoffs and a bunch more. Stay tuned for an action-packed episode 124. Let's hop into it. All right, let's start out episode 124, how we always do, with the headlines in the NBA. New York Knicks, sadly, go down to the Miami Heat in Game 6. Obviously, you guys know I'm a diehard New York Knicks fan. Tough to see them go down to the Miami Heat. But yes, this is still a very successful season in my eyes as a New York Knicks fan. Still a lot to build on. RJ Barrett was horrendous. Julius Randle was horrendous in that Game 6. But Jalen Brunson keep it up with his great performance. I think Emmanuel quickly being hurt, really not I think people are talking about right now. I think if he wasn't hurt, wasn't injured, New York Knicks really could have had a chance in that game. First Game 7, going back to New York, win that game, and then moving on to the conference finals, play the Boston Celtics. Nonetheless, Knicks out. Good offseason coming up. Let's see how they handle it. Golden State Warriors, now they've got a very interesting offseason heading up against them. We're going to talk about it later on the episode, but still, losing in 6 games to the Los Angeles Lakers, not on their agenda going into the season. Philadelphia 76ers, obviously they had a 3-2 lead, and they lost. Boston Celtics come back from 3-2 lead in the Eastern Conference semifinals for the second straight year. Last year, they did it against the Milwaukee Bucks. This year, they're doing it against Philadelphia 76ers. So, congratulations to Jason Tatum. Most points ever in a Game 7. He had 52. It's amazing right there. Jason Tatum came up when the lights were the brightest. That's what you need to do. Boston Celtics. It's amazing right there. Kind of a little payback for Boston fans. Obviously, Boston Bruins, the greatest regular season hockey team of all time. Just get bounced in the first round. Now you got the Boston Celtics moving on to the conference finals where they can maybe make their second straight NBA finals. They're going up against the Miami Heat. That will be the rematch of the bubble. Obviously, we got Lakers Nuggets, also a rematch of the bubble. So you got the 4 teams that were in the conference finals of the bubble, back at it. That's a really interesting thing about it right there. Phoenix Suns, they went down to the Denver Nuggets. Now they got decisions to make. They made their decision on Monty Williams. Now you got to think, who's going to be their next head coach? I've seen Isaiah Thomas, obviously old Piston, didn't work as a head coach in the New York Knicks. His name being thrown out there. I've seen Nick Nurse even being thrown out there. A lot of interesting names being thrown out there for that Phoenix Suns head coaching job. They got decisions to make. Monty Williams gone. Devin Booker still there. Kevin Durant still there. James Harden. That could be an interesting possibility. Chris Paul, what's the future of him in Phoenix? We got a lot to talk about. And biggest night in the NBA, maybe in years, you could say, that isn't a game. NBA draft lottery, everybody. Because you got Victor Wembanyama, who could be the greatest sports prospect of all time. The greatest sports prospect of all time. You hear me, right? Whoever wins tonight's number 1 overall pick, and it's no given who's going to get it, they get greatest sports prospect of all time. That's my take right there. Victor Wembanyama. That's going to be interesting. Lottery tonight. Let's see how that goes. Obviously, by the time episode drops, lottery will already be done, but see how that goes. Victor Wembanyama. Lottery tonight. You could say, just call it the Victor Wembanyama lottery, even bigger than that Zion Williamson lottery was back in 2019. Doc Rivers also out as Philadelphia 76ers head coach. Kind of a move a lot of people expected. Doc Rivers didn't really have the greatest tenure with the Philadelphia 76ers, never being able to make the conference finals when a lot of people expected him to in his 3 years there. They expected him to do it against the Hawks, couldn't do it there. Expected him to do it obviously against last year against the Miami Heat, and now this year against the Boston Celtics, couldn't get it done any of those years. So Doc Rivers got the can. I think Monty Williams, perfect for that Philadelphia 76ers job. He used to be their assistant coach before he moved over to the Phoenix Suns as the head coach. Perfect move in my opinion. Just make it done. Monty Williams, the Philadelphia 76ers. Perfect for Joel Embiid. Perfect for James Harden if you want to keep him. That's my take right there. Ja Morant, obviously he gets suspended again by Memphis Grizzlies. Really just a bonehead move again in my opinion. Not just by his friends, but by him. We have the spotlight coming up later on Ja Morant. Stay tuned for that. NFL, no real news. We just have the schedule release coming out again. Obviously official on Thursday. Week 11, we get Chiefs-Eagles. We got a lot of good holiday games. We have Giants versus Eagles on Christmas Day. That'll be a good game. And we have Chiefs-Lions opening night Thursday of the NFL season. Look forward to that. That's about for the news in the NFL. Let's move to MLB, where we had another action-packed week. Yankees got their slugger back, Aaron Judge, and he's mashing home runs again. You say, oh, he's cheating. He's looking over at the dugout. Don't believe it. Aaron Judge still mashing home runs in Toronto, in New York, wherever you want him to. Maybe best player in baseball right now, behind Shohei Ohtani, in my opinion. San Diego Padres rolling ever since they got Fernando Tatis Jr. back. Juan Soto really his first taste of playing with Fernando Tatis Jr. You thought some of his stats would go away. No, he's actually going up. OPS since Fernando Tatis Jr. came back, 917. That's something to look for right there. Fernando Tatis Jr., Juan Soto looking like a great duo out in San Diego. New York Mets, 20-22 on the season, but some bright spots. Justin Verlander's pitched great in his first two starts in the New York Mets, in my opinion. And Max Scherzer, his first start back from that injury, pitched well against the Washington Nationals in that doubleheader. So Mets, some things to look forward to. Oakland Athletics, they have the OPS leader in the MLB in Brent Rooker. They're still playing like the worst MLB team I've ever seen in my lifetime. So Oakland Athletics, a lot of things to figure out. Another team that doesn't have a lot of things to figure out, Baltimore Orioles. Low payroll, but they're playing great. Adley Rutschman, Cedric Mullins, Jorge Mateo, great pitching staff, Grayson Rodriguez, a few other guys, John Means. I love it right here. Baltimore Orioles on a roll right now. Second best record in MLB behind the Tampa Bay Rays. Soccer, we obviously had Champions League semifinal today. Next semifinal is tomorrow. Man City versus Real Madrid, but today we have Inter Milan versus AC Milan. Really interesting. We have two Milan teams in the Champions League semifinal, and Inter Milan won that 1-0 after winning the first match 2-0, so that's 3-0. They obviously advance over to the Champions League final, and then tomorrow we've got Man City versus Real Madrid to make it to play against Inter Milan. I think that's the real championship of the Champions League, I would say. Man City, Real Madrid. I think either of those teams could wipe out Inter Milan, in my opinion. But if you're a soccer fan, leave your thoughts on that in the comment section. Let's round out the headlines with the NHL really quick. Boston Bruins obviously got knocked out a few weeks ago, but team they got beaten by, Florida Panthers, they win again in overtime in Game 5. They're moving on to the conference finals, and same with the Carolina Hurricanes. They'll play against the Carolina Hurricanes. So you got the Panthers versus the Hurricanes, and you got the Stars who beat the Kraken, Seattle Kraken. Obviously, new team, second year in the NHL, going up against Dallas Stars, and they lost that series in 7 games. So Dallas Stars, they'll play Las Vegas Golden Knights, also a new team originated in 2017. So yeah, Golden Knights versus Stars, and you got Hurricanes versus Panthers to make your Stanley Cup champion. Those are the conference finals for the NHL, Stanley Cup playoffs. Leave your thoughts on that in the comment section. That's about for the headlines this week. Now, take of the week. This week's take of the week is about Victor Wembanyama. We all know him, the French superstar, 7'4", can shoot the three, can pass the ball, can rebound, can lay up, can do whatever he wants with the basketball in his hands. Victor Wembanyama, you can call him if you want, of the NBA draft prospects. Best draft prospect I've ever scouted in any sport, in my opinion. Best prospect I think we've ever seen in any sport, like I said in the headlines, and the NBA draft lotteries tonight. So that's a big deal right there. But we're not going to talk about the lottery right here. We're going to talk about strictly Victor Wembanyama and a few other players. If you had to pick right now, if you could take one setter in the NBA to have for the rest of your dynasty, the rest of your 15 years of your NBA organization, you'd probably take Jokic, Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo, maybe mention a few other guys in there. The one name I think should be above all, except Nikola Jokic, is Victor Wembanyama. If you ask me right now, you get a franchise for the next 10 years, would you rather have Joel Embiid or Victor Wembanyama? So you're going to have rookie Victor Wembanyama or MVP Joel Embiid? I'm taking Victor Wembanyama. I don't care if he's a rookie. What has Joel Embiid proved? That he can win an MVP, but he can't win a championship. Victor Wembanyama is the new age of the NBA. Joel Embiid can shoot. He can shoot pretty well. He can defend. He couldn't defend well in the playoffs, but he can. He can lay at the ball, I guess. But what he can't do is he can't rebound insanely well. He can't pass insanely well. What Victor Wembanyama can do is that he can excel at passing like Nikola Jokic. He can excel at rebounding like Bam Adebayo. And he can obviously score like Karl-Anthony Towns, like Nikola Jokic. So that's why Victor Wembanyama is the complete package, in my opinion. We'll love to say Nikola Jokic may be one of the best offensive players of all time. Well, Victor Wembanyama can be better. That's why I think right now you would have to consider those two guys as maybe the two most valuable players in basketball. Before Victor Wembanyama even steps foot on the NBA court, he might be the most valuable player in basketball. And that's no joke right there. If you had to pick one player, he might be the most valuable in basketball. And I'm not kidding. That's my take of the week. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Now, top 5. This week's top 5 is the top 5 most entertaining athletes in sports. When you watch them, you're entertained. That's all I'm looking for right here. Here's top 5. Now, I'm not just talking NBA, NFL, MLB. I'm talking the whole entire global world of sports. Tennis, basketball, baseball, football, soccer, NHL. Let's hop into it right here. Number 5, Shohei Ohtani. He can hit, he can pitch the ball 100 miles an hour, and he can hit it 115 miles an hour. That's all that has to be said, no debate about it. Shohei Ohtani, number 5. Pretty basic, not much to say about it. to show Ohtani. You watch him, you're entertained. Number 5, Ohtani. Number 4, Patrick Mahomes. He'll have you on your toes. You'll have you thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm going to win this game, even if you have a 38-0 lead. Mahomes is on the other side. Mahomes is that type of guy. He's entertaining to watch. Number 4, Patty Mahomes. And number 3, this one's going to be a little bit controversial, but I'll explain why. Nick Kyrgios, obviously amazing tennis star, but has never won a big-time tournament, a big-time Grand Slam. He's still number 3 in my opinion, because tennis is the only sport, tennis and golf are really the only sports where the whole entire attention is on just you, because they're individual sports. Not even golf as much as tennis, because in tennis, he can celebrate as much as he wants. He can do as much trickery as he wants. He is the most exciting athlete in tennis, maybe one of the most exciting athletes in the world. That's why I have him at number 3, because he keeps you on your toes. He can hit the most insane shots. He's ridiculous with it. He'll provide some drama. He'll provide some on-court drama, some off-court drama. He'll do all of that all at once. Nick Kyrgios, number 3, get mad at an opponent. You can get mad at an umpire. You can hit the craziest shot you've ever seen. That's what's great about it. Number 3, Nick Kyrgios. That's why he excels of entertainment over any other tennis star, in my opinion, because Novak Djokovic, that's all business. No, Rafael Nadal, he'll just hit the perfect shots. He's not going to fight that much. Nick Kyrgios, he can do all at once, and he can hit the best shots in the world. Number 3, Nick Kyrgios. People love to say that he's the most talented tennis player of all time. He just doesn't know how to use it, and I don't fully disagree with that. Nick Kyrgios. 3. Number 2, the GOAT of basketball, in my opinion, especially if he wins the championship this season, LeBron James. Number 2. No, not much to be said about me. LeBron, pure greatest. Been doing it since 2003 and before that. LeBron, number 2. Number 1, the best footballer of all time, Lionel Messi, everybody. And the tip of the hat, obviously the World Cup. Not as much anymore on PSG. He's not going to entertain you as much, but he can score 5 goals when he's on Barcelona. He can score a hat trick in the World Cup. He can do whatever he wants. Lionel Messi, most famous world sports star, and also the most entertaining. That's my list. That's my top 5. Leave thoughts in the comment section. Schoolyard Sports Global type of segment. Now, did you know, this 6 did you know, it's a great one. Did you know Cleveland Indians pitcher Ray Caldwell, all the way back in 1919, was struck by lightning, 8 innings and 2 outs through a game where he could have got a complete game, struck by lightning, and he came back after being struck by lightning in that same game, completed the game, get the full 9 innings, get the full 27 outs. He did that right there after being struck by lightning. So, 1 out away from a complete game, gets struck by lightning, says, I'll brush it off, I'll go finish the game. That's why they say athletes were a different breed back then, people were a different breed back then. That's a prime example of it. Ray Caldwell, back in 1919, struck by lightning. I think if an MLB pitcher, any athlete was struck by lightning nowadays, any human, they would never even be able to touch a baseball again. Ray Caldwell could do it the same entire game, and he could get that final out to make it 27 outs, complete game. Did you know that? Leave that in the comment section. That's maybe one of the wildest did you knows we've ever had. That's Bradford Did You Know this week. Let me say this right here. Kevin Durant is a failed superstar. James Harden is a disappointing superstar. If you follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram, at Schoolyard Sports, posting daily content every single day, obviously opinions, takes, and breaking news, go follow at Schoolyard Sports. I put out a take there that said, if Kevin Durant doesn't win our championship in his career is a disappointment. It's a failure, in my opinion, because for the amount of talent that Kevin Durant has, you can consider Kevin Durant the most talented player of all time. A lot of people do. Kevin Durant, athletes do not show that. 1 MVP, not so great. A lot of all-stars, but who cares about that? Only 1 MVP, 2 championships, but championships of the Golden State Warriors. Every amazing superstar in their career can win a championship on their own. At least every elite superstar. And if we consider Kevin Durant a top 10, a top 15 player of all time, he cannot be in that conversation. So Kevin Durant, in my opinion, is a failed or disappointing superstar. And I think a lot of you should agree with that, because you can't win a championship on your own. You can't win it without Steph Curry, the unanimous 2-time MVP, whatever you want to call him. There's something wrong. Kevin Durant's career, does he always have that killer instinct? Does he always have that power, that drive to win a championship? Because he couldn't do it in Brooklyn, and he was surrounded by James Harden and Kyrie Irving. Couldn't do it in Phoenix, and he's surrounded by Devin Booker and Chris Paul. So what's the deal? What is wrong with Kevin Durant? In my opinion, he's a disappointing superstar if he never wins another championship in his career. Same goes for James Harden. James Harden has never won a championship in his career. We love to say, oh, James Harden's this, James Harden's that. He only has 1 MVP. He has all-star appearances, only 1 MVP, though. He's a great scorer. What else is he outside of that? He's a good passer. He hasn't won with Philadelphia. He couldn't win with Brooklyn. He definitely couldn't win with OKC. And he for sure didn't with Houston Rockets. So James Harden and Kevin Durant are failed superstars, disappointing superstars, guys who try to do it on their own. Durant tried to do it in OKC. He couldn't. Went over to Golden State, did it. But that's Golden State. I think you could value an Eastern Conference championship over Kevin Durant's 2 championships, in my opinion, because that's just a conference finals championship over Kevin Durant's 2 championships, because they would have won a championship anyways without Kevin Durant, in my opinion. I think they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers both years without Kevin Durant. That's just my take, though. Kevin Durant, James Harden, failed superstars. Leave your thoughts on that in the comment section. Let's go around the bases in the MLB, everybody. And I want to bring up a really interesting stuff in around base this week. It's not going to just be headlines or rundowns. It's not going to be this, not going to be that. It's going to be talking about another part of baseball's dilemma. And this is a long-going 3-year saga I've had on Schoolyard Sports, going against the MLB, going against baseball, going against the funkiest things that we see in the MLB. And this is just another example of it. 7 teams below the league average in payroll. Worst team in payroll, Oakland Athletics. That's where you get right there. 7 teams below the league average in payroll in the MLB are above 500, and 8 teams above the league average in payroll are over 500. So that's not that big of a difference. So you got 16 through 30 for payroll in the MLB. 7 of those are above 500, and you got 15 through 1 in the MLB payroll, and only 8 of those are above 500. Now, I'm not saying here that if you go over the payroll, if you have the highest payroll, you're not going to be good because you look at the Los Angeles Dodgers. But I'm not saying you're going to be great because you look at the New York Mets who have the highest payroll, and they're sitting at 2022. I'm also not saying if you don't pay well, you're going to be good because look at the Oakland Athletics. They're 200 winning percentage right now. But I'm not saying it's not going to work because you look at the Tampa Bay Rays, sitting at number 29 right now, and they're the best team that will be. 28 and 29, Baltimore Orioles and Tampa Bay Rays. Those 2 teams have the best records in baseball. Tampa Bay Rays and Baltimore Orioles are 28 and 29 payroll, and they have the best records in baseball. Now, New York Mets, number 1, have one of the worst records in baseball at 20 and 22. So this is an interesting thing in baseball. Like I said, I'm not saying if you pay players, you go above that payroll, go for big guys like Mookie Betts, like Dustin May, like Will Smith, like JD Martinez, like Freddie Freeman, you're going to be bad because the Los Angeles Dodgers are great. And I'm not saying that if you get horrible players like Esther Ruiz, get rid of all these guys like Sean Murphy, Matt Olson, and stick with Tony Kemp and Trevor Mays or pitchers, you're going to be good because that's Oakland Athletics, and they're trash right now. But I'm just saying, don't look so deep into the payroll because if you're below the payroll, it can work. If you're above it, it's not going to work always. So, just one of the more funkier things in baseball right there. Let me say it again. 7 teams below the league average payroll in MLB are above 500, and 8 teams above the league average payroll are above 500. Only 8 of those of the 15 are above 500, and they've got a massive payroll. And then you see the low payroll, you got 7 of those teams above 500. What's more shocking to you? Leave your thoughts on that in the comment section. What does this tell you about MLB, about baseball? That's for you to figure out. That's about for Around the Bases this week. Now, spotlight for this week, Ja Morant. Everybody previewed it in the headlines a little bit, but Ja Morant, everybody's favorite superstar, whose side hustle isn't so much playing basketball, or his side hustle might be playing basketball, his other side hustle might be doing some bad things on Instagram Live. Second time we've seen Ja Morant Instagram Live incident in the past 3 months, and now we've got an issue because Ja Morant is an uber talented player where he's got in trouble before in the past, got suspended for it, and we thought, oh, he's going to be all good, came out of the rehabilitation facility, had a conversation with Jalen Rose, had a conversation with Adam Silver. This will never happen again. What happened again? And this time, was Ja Morant on live or was it his friend? Not sure on that one right there, but still, losing the playoffs to the Los Angeles Lakers, and you start spiraling. You can see it on Instagram Live. You can see it just in everywhere. Ja Morant, this whole entire team, Grizzlies, struggling right now. Their season only ended about 2 weeks ago, and you still having bad issues with Ja Morant. And it's not just that it's setting a bad example for the league, it's setting a bad example for almost all basketball players around the world. People wanting it to make it to the NBA, they're always going to have a bad rap because you say, oh, what about that one guy, Ja Morant, who did this? That one Ja Morant guy who did that? Ja Morant is so talented. He's always going to be remembered for this for the rest of his career now. I think if he had that one incident, he'd be fine. But now he's always going to be remembered for being the thug that maybe he was earlier on in his career that people might like to portray him as. What he's doing isn't illegal, but setting a bad example for the league, setting a bad example for the rest of the players, setting a bad example for Ja Morant, and most importantly, setting a bad example for all of sports, all of basketball, in my opinion. So Ja Morant got some decisions to make. The whole entire 2019 draft class, really just a bunch of failed wannabe superstars, in my opinion right now. It's like you're going up for a dunk, you're about to make it, it's like, oh, I missed. Jordan Poole, failed superstar, horrible playoffs. Tyler Hero, definitely a failed superstar. Darius Garland, losing the playoffs. Zion Williamson, when was the last time you saw him on NBA court? Ja Morant, definitely losing a little bit of respect right now. And RJ Barrett will never be a superstar, in my opinion. So, Ja Morant, set a bad example for almost everybody in this position. Things to think about. Leave your thoughts on that Ja Morant situation in the comments. Now, let's finish off episode 124 with At the Buzzer, everybody. This week's At the Buzzer about the Golden State Warriors, everybody. Everyone's favorite dynasty. Not really, but most recent dynasty in sports, you could say. And I put out a tweet there on Sunday after they lost the Los Angeles Lakers. I said, was that 2022 championship the finale of a dynasty or continuation of one? And it's really looking like a finale one. We might not have seen it. We knew when the last dance happened, when that 1999 Bulls championship happened, that it was the finale of a dynasty. We didn't know that with the Golden State Warriors when they won it. And I think that is coming to fruition right now. That's the finale of a dynasty. And most of the blame can be put on Steve Kerr, in my opinion, because the Lakers, who just beat them in the playoffs, they handled it perfectly. They didn't go for the big superstars like the Suns. They didn't go for the big superstars like the Clippers, the Nets, a few other these teams. They wanted to stay put. They wanted to get their two superstars and then build a great core around it. They have Austin Reeves. They have Lonnie Walker. They have Jared Vanderbilt. Now, the Golden State Warriors, they have a good bench too. They have Moses Moody. They have Jonathan Kuminga. They have Patrick Baldwin. And they have Jordan Poole, a few other guys. But they don't like to utilize that as much. They'd rather play JaMychal Green 20 minutes a game. They'd rather play Gary Payton 20 minutes a game. Gary Payton second 20 minutes a game. When you can play a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, who has athleticism, who can put up points for you, when you can play a guy like Moses Moody, who can shoot the rock well when Jordan Poole can't. That's my take right there with the Golden State Warriors, because they have a great infusion of youth, but they don't use it at all. And that's what the problem was with them in the playoffs. You have the Lakers going off of guys like Lonnie Walker, Jared Vanderbilt. You have the Golden State Warriors doing nothing with their players. They're giving DNPs Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. That's a little bit disrespectful, in my opinion, because it's a great young staff that can mix in well with the starters, give them a break, and they just couldn't do that. They'd stuck to their Klay Thompson Game 6 strategy. They stuck to their Jordan Poole keep on shooting strategy. They stuck to Steph Curry, hey, just hang out there with the guys. Draymond Green, same thing. So there's great fusion of youth, this team. They just don't use it well enough, in my opinion, and that's what killed them at the end. That's my At the Buzzer. That's my take on the Golden State Warriors. Now, best for last question today. This week's question today is, who is the worst superstar in sports? I'm not talking play-wise. I'm talking just overall-wise. The way they carry themselves on and off the court. The way they play in the playoffs. The way they treat other people. That's what I'm talking about right here. If they play enough, if they get hurt a lot. Because Kawhi Leonard, he's a horrible superstar in sports. Kevin Durant, entering that strategy. You could say soccer players, bunch of soccer players that you could call horrible superstars in sports. You can say even Neymar never won a World Cup. He's a horrible superstar, you could say. He's on PSG, but that's easy league to win, Uber Eats League, but never won a World Cup. A few other of these guys, you could say MLB, used to be Bryce Harper, but now he cemented his legacy making the World Series, but a guy who doesn't show up in the playoffs, a guy who gets hurt, a guy who's not uber consistent. That's why I consider a bad superstar. A guy who treats himself badly off the court, John Morant, that's a bad superstar. So that's my question day of the week this week. Who is the worst superstar in sports? That's my question today. That's my Schoolyard Sports, Lane Frank, episode 124. Thank you for tuning in. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram at Schoolyard Sports. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Twitter at Schoolyard Sport. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and view the best sports content in the world. We'll be back here next week, episode 125. Stay tuned.